Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
People actually subscribe.
All across central New York.
Time expired! Syracuse has done it!
It's Drive Time with your host, Tim Leonard.
Hey, guess what? I'm getting one. Hey!
We welcome you into Drive Time on a game night here in central New York. SU men's basketball, another late night one. Get out the coffee, get out the Celsius. That's what I went to. I'll be back for post-game late night. The night is just getting started for us here at CuseSportsTalk.com. Pregame with Gio, 8 p.m. Tip-off at 9 p.m. And then you got me for post-game right after the final buzzer. Orange and Florida State tonight. Another one of those games Syracuse is expected to win. Let's see if they keep playing good basketball, keep taking care of business here in the month of January to set them up for a chance as they go into that difficult month of February. Going to be interesting to see how the Orange fare tonight. These 9 p.m. tips have not been good to them so far. 2 games so far that have been 9 p.m. tips, and they've kind of been sleepy games from the Orange. Monmouth, the first one, that was right before Vegas. We talked a lot going into that game about how it was definitely a trap game for Syracuse, and they almost lost that game to Monmouth on a 9 p.m. Tuesday weeknight tip. Then they played St. Joe's coming out of Vegas and coming off the Tennessee game, and just was sort of an game from Syracuse. They won it, but it wasn't the most convincing win ever. So we got our third 9 p.m. tip. We're going to have another one next week. Next Wednesday, it's Virginia Tech. That's a really important game inside the Dome next week. First, it's Florida State tonight. Then it's Boston College on the road Saturday. And then we see what the Orange have against Virginia Tech in Miami, and it gets tougher and tougher from there. Very interested to see if the 9 p.m. tip leads to maybe level 2 energy, level 3 energy, or will Syracuse keep playing like they've been playing in the first halves, which has been very good. I mean, 44 points 2 games ago at Georgia Tech, 48 points at Pittsburgh, season highs there, and the offense playing well. And this is a matchup tonight. We're going to start our opening segment here, our Burdick BMW of Cicero opening drive, and give you all the details you need to know about Florida State. Full scouting report on the Noles as they are coming off a shocking and very disgusting loss. Just a gross loss at home to NC State. Not shocking they lost, shocking in how badly they lost. 44 points at home. Gave up 113 points to Will Wade and the Wolfpack at home last time out. So as we chatted with Jeff Colhane, the voice of the Noles, earlier today on Orange Nation, he brought up the first 10 minutes of this game might tell us a whole lot. We might know what level 5 energy is happening from either team. Will it be the type of game that at the under 16, under 12 timeout, we can kind of sense, yeah, Syracuse is playing like they mean it tonight? Or will Florida State be the team that brings it to Syracuse off of a very, very bad performance? And Florida State has really punched above their weight sometimes in games where they've been going up against stronger teams. They just did not do that at all against NC State in the last game. Layla Filio will join us in about 10 minutes or so. It'll be great to chat with her of the SU women's basketball team. Always a terrific interview, and she is coming off a 38-point game on the road at Virginia. I bring that up because the SU women's basketball team just went from their worst performance of the year to their best performance of the year. Urgency matters, and what you bring to the game tonight when it's a 9 p.m. tip and what your energy level is going to say a lot about what the game is going to be. So Florida State coming off a drubbing. Florida State coming off an ugly loss. Are they going to come out and roll over, or are they going to come out and play like we saw them play at Duke, or against Duke at home, I should say, or at UNC, where they were really in that game, or against Florida, or in an exhibition game at the start of the year against Alabama? They were right in it against Bama. Lost that game. Both teams scored in the hundreds. And that's what Florida State wants to do. We get into our Burdick BMW of Cicero opening drive. We welcome your phone calls throughout the show this afternoon as well. If you have thoughts on keys for the Orange tonight against Florida State, if you want to talk SU football in the transfer portal, anything is fair game. If you want to talk about the NFL coaching stuff that's going on, Mike Tomlin stepping down after 19 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tomlin and Harbaugh are now out, even though I felt like that game was going to lead to one of them being gone. Tomlin stepping down today. Will he be sought after? I'm sure. Where will he go? Will he be interested in coaching immediately next season? Where will Harbaugh go? Fascinating coaching carousel that is ahead across the NFL after the Steelers really looked rough last night and Aaron Rodgers looked rough in his last game, probably of his NFL career last night. But let's get into that Burdick BMW of Cicero opening drive, which is our scatter report on Florida State. They're 7-9 on the year, and they are 0-3 in ACC play, and they have played the Triangle teams, the teams from that Tobacco Road area. They went to UNC. They were in that game. They lost it by 13, 79-66. Second game of ACC play, they hosted Duke, and they were right there against Duke. They made 14 threes in the game. They were thinking about upset throughout the game. They lost by 4 in a high-scoring game, 91-87. Then they played NC State, and we talked about that, 113-69. So they have played all three of those teams in the same neck of the woods in North Carolina, at UNC, Duke, NC State. Those are three really good teams to start out ACC play. Remember, it's not Leonard Hamilton anymore. New head coach, Luke Laux, and he is an NBA assistant since 2016, played professionally after playing at Florida State until 2012, and he runs an NBA style of offense, and his team is modeled after the NBA game. You can tell he's got an NBA assistant background. He was an assistant for the Warriors and the Kings. Their team wants to run up and down the court, and they are going to jack up a whole bunch of threes. They are shooting about the third most threes in the country. When you look at percentage of attempts in terms of your overall field goal attempts, what percentage is coming from three-point range? About 53% for Florida State is coming from beyond the arc. That's third in the country, according to KenPom. It's Louisville at number 1, Pat Kelsey, and it's Alabama, that team they played an exhibition game against, Nate Oates, who is known for no mid-range, NBA style, get up and down, threes and layups at the rim. That's the only thing you're allowed to do at Alabama when you're an offensive player. And it feels like Luke Laux is following that blueprint a little bit. They are third in the nation, basically, in three-pointers attempted. Actually, technically second in just the raw number of 35 attempts per game. They're making about 11 threes per game. So they're not shooting it great. They're 277th in the country, right around 32% from three-point range, but they are going to attempt a lot, and they're going to play quick. They are the sixth quickest offense in average possession length, according to KenPom. 14.6 seconds per possession. They do not go deep into the shot clock very often. The Orange want to play quick as well, but what's interesting about Syracuse, probably the stat that has changed the most for Syracuse from the first 2 years under Coach Autry to this third year, is how much they are making the opponent work on offense 4 points. How much they are slowing down the opposition's offense. Syracuse's defense ranks 319th in terms of being on the slow side for average possession length from their opponents. So you've got a team that is playing as quick as pretty much anyone in the country, especially at the power conference level, against a team that has slowed down the opposition about as much as anyone in the country, essentially. 319th out of about 365 teams. Syracuse ranks in the average time of possession their opponents are taking on offense. That is going to be an interesting juxtaposition in this game tonight. Florida State is not tall. They don't have a ton of size. They're really just completely different from what we know of them under Leonard Hamilton. Leonard Hamilton was known for, we're going to play 10, 11, 12 guys. Florida State's bench is pretty thin. They had to add a completely new roster. It's a lot of mid-major guys leveling up. Some have been good, some haven't been good, but they're just going to shoot a whole bunch of threes, and they're going to try and get up and down the court. Their defense has been suspect all year. The one thing they do well defensively is they force turnovers. They are leading the ACC and 10th in the country at forcing turnovers, 16.25 turnovers forced per game. Here's what Coach Autry had to say during his ACC coaches call yesterday when he was asked what stands out about Florida State.
When you talk about pace, you talk about a disruptive defense. They cause a lot of turnovers, and offensively, three-point shooting, the three-point shot attempts really stick out, and their offensive rebounding to get those three-point attempts. But their pace of play, their aggression is really what sticks out a lot. They're aggressive on both sides of the ball, whether it's getting a turnover and turning them into points, or even when you score, those guys getting the ball out and getting up the court and spacing you out with the three-point shooting that they have.
So a lot of the stuff we just talked about, we know what Florida State wants to do. They want to get up and down. They want to make threes. And really the biggest stat for them is how many threes are they making in the game. FSU, when they played Duke at home and they lost by just 4, they were a remarkable 14 of 30 from three-point range. That's almost 50%. 14 threes is going to keep you in a lot of games. Then they played NC State. They had their fewest makes all year and their fewest attempts all year from three-point range. They were 5 for 23. Before that, against UNC, they were 12 for 40 from 3. They're probably going to jack up about 35, 40 threes. Syracuse has been very good at defending the 3 so far in ACC play. This will be an interesting matchup tonight. FSU is 1-5 when they make less than 10 threes this year. They are 6-4 when they make more than 10 threes on the season. That's the key stat to watch. They're 7-9 overall, 0-3 in ACC play, and I will make my full prediction for that game in a little bit as we continue with Drive Time. When we come back, Layla Filia will join us. The Orange's star guard who went for 38 points on the road at Virginia. Going to be very excited to talk to Layla when we return. Break down what went right for the Cuse in their Quad 1 victory, how they turned the page from a tough performance against Virginia Tech, and more. That is next on Drive Time on ESPN Radio, QSportsTalk.com.
What makes Flintstone...
No days off, Phil. Is that true? She's averaging more points per game than at Michigan, Ryan? I thought she averaged like 17 per game. Texas, definitely, because she didn't play much because of that injury. Wow, no work tomorrow, Ryan. You can stay up all night. That's great timing. I think Gio's doing the pregame for Virginia Tech next week, so we'll see if he's pumping the Enter Sandman. Gio and our new employee Kyle will be making his debut, and he's also a Hokie, a former Hokie, so you guys can throw eggs at them when they're doing the pregame and talking Virginia Tech, breaking down the Hokies. They both, of course, grew up here, though. Layla will be on the phone, Ryan. She could not do either of those options. She's busy. Oh, combined her. That makes sense, yeah. Sam will be back on Saturday for postgame, I believe, for BC. Yep. Maybe she's doing pregame too. I'm not really sure. I don't think this will be a half-court game, Phillies. I mean, two teams that play pretty quick, or try to at least. Okay, cool. That's fine. I mean, I don't know. I think it's like 750 is what you have to set it to. But I haven't messed with it with that, so I'm not sure if that's right. Yeah. I mean, just make it bigger than whatever you have, and hopefully it will fit, you know? Yeah.
Right, I'll play with it. Until, worst case scenario, that's
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Oh, you're so wrong, Ryan. 0.1 more. Yeah, Siverud on the move. Looks like he's got a nice payday, too. Seems like that's a full circle moment for him, so congrats to him and his wife. We roll along on drive time on a game night for Orange men's basketball tonight. It'll be a late night, 9 p.m. tip. Cuse and Florida State will have you covered tonight, pregame and postgame coverage. Orange women's team rolling this year, 14-3 on the season. Their next game night is Thursday. 2 home games this week against the California ACC schools. They'll play Cal on Thursday night. Then they'll play Stanford Sunday inside the Dome for a 2 p.m. tip. And they are coming off their biggest win of the season in a road victory, a quad 1 road victory at Virginia back on Sunday. And the star of that game joins us now. Layla Filia went for 38 points, a career high in college, 38 points for Layla in that game on Sunday. So, Layla, to start out, I want to know, 38 points we know is your career high for college. Have you ever scored 38 points or more in any basketball game in your life?
No, I haven't.
Well, that's quite the banner game then. It was awesome to see you have a breakout game for sure offensively, and you've been such a big part of the team throughout this season. Walk us through pregame a little bit. Was your mindset different going into that game at all? I know that you guys were motivated after a tough showing in the game before.
Sure. I would say the biggest thing for me, at least after the tough loss against Duke, we gathered together that next morning and just hearing everything like that Coach Jack had to say about the game and just becoming tougher, us needing to set the tone and everything, and just having conversations on the side with Coach Jack, Coach Casey, Coach Moore, and just talking to them and realizing that what they needed from me, and that was setting the tone, being aggressive, starting right off the jump ball. And I feel like that was just going into that Virginia game, it was more so like, we don't want to have that feeling again. So getting the team together and understanding what exactly we need to do to be successful. We were also watching film all in the hotel room together, just my teammates and I, and we were just trying to see how can we be successful, where can we attack them at, and what's going to lead us to that victory. So
what's it say?
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see you guys went from one of the worst performances of the year and you have one of your best performances of the year in the game after. And I think for me, that speaks a lot to the culture that Coach Jack has in the team. And you're a leader of the team, and it does feel like this team's very connected. They have a lot of fun together. What's it say about the culture that you could go from a bad outing to a very good outing in that quick of a turnaround?
I would say the biggest thing for me is that the coaches did a great job recruiting the right people.
Yeah.
And just putting this team together. I would say that's the biggest thing, because after that tough loss, it's like, yes, we were down about it, but everyone was like, what can we do? How do we contribute? Even some of my teammates who don't see the floor as much, they're trying to figure out how can they help us? Like, what can they do on the sidelines? What will help us get going? And honestly, it's just that family environment, and I'm just so blessed to be a part of this group.
You've been around some great teams, some teams that have gone on deep runs in the NCAA tournament. For those that don't know, you started your career at Michigan, you played at Texas last year, and now you're at Syracuse. So I'm sure you can speak to how important it is to have that connectiveness and have a group that has that family environment that you're speaking to. Do you feel like this group has that about as much as some of those really great teams that you were a part of in previous years?
Yes, for sure. I would say, and I tell the girls all the time, that I've been a part of great programs, and I get the chills just thinking about this group right now. And it's like, we can make that same exact run. We can be just as successful because we have all the right pieces. So definitely.
And you've got the coach, right? With Coach Jack and her energy and passion. I think if anyone has seen any clip that's gone out on Syracuse's social media, or just been to a game, or seen Coach Jack for 5 seconds at Wegmans or whatever, we know she's got unbelievable energy and passion. What's it like playing for Coach Jack and showing up to practice, whether it's in the morning, night, whatever, and you know that she's going to be bringing that energy and passion?
It's honestly amazing just being able to have someone who believes in you in so many ways. And I feel like just being able to come to Syracuse and play for a coach like that, it's like she brings so much out of each one of us. And some parts of my game that I never saw was possible, it's like she believed it, and she is pulling it out of me each and every day at practice and games, even off the court. It's like she's constantly helping us. And I would say, like, it's really a blessing just being able to have someone who has so much confidence in you and belief, regardless, make or miss. So it's nice.
Layla Filia is with us, a transfer guard in this year for Syracuse, one of their stars, coming off a 38-point career-high performance on the road at Virginia. And Layla, you've been very open about the scary eye injury that you had to deal with last year when you were at Texas. For our audience that has not heard about this, can you walk us through what you had to go through with that injury, and what were the first signs that you knew that something was off with your eyes last year?
Yes. So last year in June, I would describe it as just like a curtain it was my right eye. It looked like a black curtain on the top half of my eye. And I knew something was off, but, moving to Texas, tanning, being out in the sun a lot, I was like, maybe I'm just sensitive. So I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But then I would say a few days later, it dropped lower and it crossed my vision line, and everything just went blurry. And so I went to the eye doctor, mentioned that I had to have emergency eye surgery because my retina detached, started freaking out because I'm like, this is my senior season. Like, there's no way. Is there any medicine? Like, I can't have surgery right now. Like, we're going to have to push this off. And he just explained, like, no, it has to get done. I had to have a total of 2 surgeries actually on my eye, along with laser treatments throughout the season, which of course caused me to redshirt. And I feel like the biggest thing for me was just adjusting to that. And it was it just happened out of nowhere that the only thing I could really think about in that moment was just, you know what, everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer, and I just knew like God had a plan for me. So I feel like just getting through that season, figuring out what I can do on and off the court to just help Texas, and just figuring out how to find my voice, how to be a leader, even though I wasn't able to play out there. It was just a lot of different emotions, wondering why is this happening to me right now. I found out it was genetics, and I was just trying to figure out how it skipped a whole generation because I found out my grandfather on my mother's side had it. So I would say it was just a lot of different emotions going on, me just trying to figure it out, how to, like, will I be the same player that I was at Michigan? And even just fast forwarding and realizing, like, you know what, I need to figure this out, going into the transfer portal and coming across Coach Jack and just being able to realize that we get on the phone and she was telling me, Layla, I lost peripheral vision in my left eye. Like, I can't see either. Like, girl, I get you. And she's like, Layla, you could be just as great. Like, you could be even better than the player that you were at Michigan. I'm going to get you there. And it was just hearing all of that stuff and just that reassurance and everything. It was definitely like a no-brainer. Like, I need to play for a coach like that. Yeah, and she just had all the faith and the confidence in me. So
you talk about everything happens for a reason. I'm a believer in that as well. And I mean, that's like fate, right? That Coach Jack had a similar eye injury, and she's the coach that reaches out to you in the transfer portal.
Exactly. It was insane. I was like, no way. So you can understand how I feel. And I feel like that was just amazing. I loved it. I was like, oh, yes, finally someone gets it.
So what do you think yourself last year would have thought when you're going through that scary situation? If we would have told you a year from now about, or maybe less than that, I guess it's less than that, you're going to go for a career-high 38 points, and you're going to be playing like we know Layla can play and just balling out there for Syracuse.
I wouldn't have believed it, honestly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
That's amazing. Such a great story. And I mean, it applies to any walk of life, really, that if you keep your head down and if you get dealt some adversity, and I mean, that's what the team just did. Some adversity came to you guys after the loss to Virginia Tech. You bounced back with a great game against Virginia. Let's talk about some of your teammates a little bit. And first, let's start with Sophie Burrows, who just goes out and, puts up 7 threes like it's nothing against Virginia on the road. And she's had some great shooting games on the road. Sophie's also been a terrific all-around player all year. What's it like playing with her and seeing her go off in the fourth quarter the other day?
It was amazing. Being able to be out there, being on the court with Sophie, it's like she just brings this sense of peace out there. No matter what, like, no matter what's going on, it's like I'm constantly looking at her and just trying to, like, what do we need to do? How do we get through this? Like, and feeding off of her energy. And I feel like just going into that game and being able to have her by my side throughout that whole entire game, it helped me. And seeing her go off and knocking down those threes, it's like, yes, this is what we need. This is what we've been working on. This is like all that work that she has been putting in. And it's like being able to see her do that. It was like, I was so happy and I was so proud of her, and just being able to like witness all of that. It was amazing. And we always text all the time about what we can do to help this team and everything. And I just feel like seeing her growth as a captain and everything, and just being able to help me out so much, it's like everyone needs a Sophie in their life. And I always tell her that everyone needs one.
Love that. Well, what about Uche Azoje? Because Coach Jack has said from the moment that she stepped on campus, she could be a really special player one day. She's only a freshman, and she's already taken the ACC by storm this year, was National Freshman of the Week a couple weeks ago. Have you been around a player that has that type of skill set, a big like that, and just how big of her potential do you see, knowing that she's only a freshman and she's already putting up double-doubles in the league?
She's going to be tough. She, like, now, but then even just thinking about the future, yeah, Uche is going to be one hell of a problem, like, for all these other teams out here, because just seeing her work ethic, everything, and just how, like, one thing I loved about it is that when she won, like, the National Player of the Week, she had no clue what that meant. She was just excited. She's just like, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just going out here and I'm just playing my butt off each and every game. And just seeing that in her, it's like, this is amazing. and seeing how she had that experience in Japan and everything and coming to play for Coach Jack, it's like seeing her grow and just fighting through the adversity, because now teams are doubling. Now teams are trying to figure out how to stop her down there, and just her understanding the game more and just learning and growing. She's in the gym constantly. Like after a game, we're like, why are you going to the gym? She's like, I need to get shots up. I need to rebound. I need to work on my free throws. I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl is crazy. Like, you just played. Hella. Like, what are you doing right now? So it's like, it's amazing. And her potential is like out the roof. Like, she's definitely going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's scary to think how good she could be, knowing what she's doing as a freshman right now, and could be on her way to winning the ACC Rookie. Yeah.
And she's been working on her three-point shot. Oh, my gosh. Like, this girl, I cannot wait till she starts, like, shooting that three in the game. Like, she is going to be, she's special for sure.
Yeah, amazing to think if she adds that to her game as well. Well, Layla, this has been great. Before we let you go, 2 important home games this week, and I know that you appreciate and the entire team appreciates when the dome is packed and there's a good amount of energy in there. What would it mean to see a great crowd here on Thursday night against Cal and then Sunday afternoon against Stanford, knowing these are big games for you and your team right now?
Yes, it would be amazing just being able to see the dome packed out and realizing that, and for people to realize that this team is so special and we are going to do great things. And I just feel like having Syracuse Orange out there to support us would be mind-blowing. It would be amazing, and it would definitely contribute and help with our success.
It'll be a 6 p.m. tip on Thursday night, the Orange taking on Cal, and then Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m. tip against Stanford. Layla, thanks so much for spending some time with us Cuse this year.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me.
All right, that's Layla Filia. Went for 38 points on the road, the most points that she has ever scored in a basketball game, according to herself. Amazing performance from her and the team on Sunday in a game where they were bouncing back and really faced some adversity after a tough game against Virginia Tech. They put together a tremendous second half and got a quad one victory over Virginia. So again, Thursday, it will be Cal inside the Dome, Stanford on Sunday inside the Dome. Great to chat with Layla. She is a tremendous interview and a really good player as well. That has been a whole lot of fun to watch this season for Syracuse. We'll step aside for a quick timeout. Your phone call could be next as we get back into some of the conversation around Syracuse men's basketball and what they need to do tonight to get a win against Florida State. Phone lines remain open at 315-437-7644. Back with more Drive Time.
Orange Nation.
Great insight.
Hi, Govendo. You back in snowy Syracuse? Dreading it? I do get to eat with the team, Ryan, which is nice. Get some good food on the road. We always just kind of eat at the hotel. That could be the case, Philly, but it's going to be hard to slow them down. That's right. I remember watching that game, actually. That Caitlin Clark-Layla game. Best hotel food that I've had? I mean, they're kind of all the same. We always stay at Marriott's, which apparently that's called Marriott. Maybe you would know, Ryan. Like, I've for years thought it was Marriott, and it feels like anyone that you talk to says Marriott, like OT, but it's more IT at the end. Marriott is how they want it to be said, but they haven't done a great job of conveying that. we eat a lot of like carbs, like knowing that the team is playing, pasta, chicken usually. It's always good food. The fun situations, food-wise, are when we leave the game, like a post-game meal, is from usually something local. Like, I know a lot of the teams around here, a lot of the teams that come into play Syracuse from the ACC, they do over the Cuse. That's pretty popular because it's open late night and they do a lot of catering and they have a variety of a menu. I like over the Cuse, but we'll get like Raising Cane's or like, little local flavor sometimes, places that we can't. Like we got Noodles and Company after the Virginia game, and I was sort of thinking, man, I wish this was in Syracuse. That's a place that you'd think we'd have, but we don't. Wow, Philly, you got that Stephen Fonte money. Ritz-Carlton. Yeah, over the Cuse is very good. Welcome back into Drive Time. Tim Leonard with you until the top of the hour. Then I'll be back tonight, late night, for our postgame. You can always watch postgame on QSportsTalk.com. You can watch all our shows on the Twitch stream, QSportsTalk.com. Our postgame show, for any of you that are thinking, man, I always go to the Cuse games, then I leave, and I want to hear Coach Autry's press conference when I'm leaving, but I just have to wait until I get home and watch it on YouTube or whatever. We have an answer. QSportsTalk.com or these very airwaves, ESPN Radio Syracuse. One of the ways that you are listening right now, you can get Coach Autry's full press conference live as it's happening for all the home games. And you can watch it on QSportsTalk.com. You can watch it on our Q Sports Talk YouTube page. And we will take your phone calls, too. And usually after a win, we don't get as many phone calls. So we'll see what happens tonight. Syracuse is favored to win this game by a good bit, 8.5-point favorites. You look at the KenPom Bart Torvik projections, Paulie's favorite sites. KenPom has Florida State as 114 in the country. Syracuse much better than that, of course. Syracuse climbing up the KenPom rankings, sitting in the 60s, I believe now. I'll pull that up in a second, but Florida State is 102 offensively on KenPom, 155 defensively. And we mentioned they jack up a whole lot of threes, and that's a big part of their formula for staying in games and the biggest key for them in all of these games. Syracuse is 63 on KenPom, so pretty good when you consider where they were at. Going into that Georgia Tech game, they were 84. So they have spiked quite a bit. Of course, if they take care of business this week, tougher to continue that amount of spike when you consider they were jumping from like mid-80s, 90 on the net, to now they sit at 67 on the net rankings. Insert your 6-7 joke there and do your dance for 6-7 if you'd like. But KenPom's projecting Florida State to lose this game to Syracuse by 11 points. Check that, 9 points. I can't do math. 84-75 is the projection on KenPom. Bart Torvik is the one that's projecting 11 points. Bart Torvik has the Orange winning 84-73. Bart Torvik is higher on the Orange. 52 is the ranking for Syracuse on the Bart Torvik site. And Bart Torvik has some fancy stats and calculations that give you your basically best guess at what teams are going to make the tournament, and they try and predict your chances of making the NCAA tournament field. Tough task. About 23% right now are the chances according to Bart Torvik's T-Rankatology metric. That is them predicting all the rest of the games this season for everyone, gathering up what Syracuse's resume is projected to be compared to other schools, and they're projected to be a team that is just outside the field if all goes according to script, which of course it won't. But 23% is about what they are giving the Orange as a chance to make the NCAA tournament. How about some keys for the game tonight? Before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at the CNY Brewfest, sponsored by the Wildcat Sports Pub. That is coming up at the end of the month, Saturday, January 31st. Let's hope that Syracuse is cruising into February and taking care of business in these January games by the time we were all hanging out at the Wildcat Sports Pub CNY Brewfest. That's at the fairgrounds in the Horticulture Building. Often imitated, never duplicated, is the largest and longest running brewfest in the area. Over 150 pours under one roof. Hard cider, canned cocktails, seltzers, mocktails too. Got everything. They got snacks. It's a lumberjack theme this year. So throw on a flannel and bring your crew to the Wildcat Sports Pub CNY Brewfest. You can get your tickets today at cnybrewfest.com. 3 keys for tonight as the Orange get ready to take on Florida State for a 9 p.m. tip.
Number 1.
Number 1 is pretty simple. I touched on this in the open. Level 5 energy, baby. We talk about it a lot. Coach Autry talks about it a lot. This is a game where you preach energy and you hope that your team at 9 p.m., after playing so-so in some 9 p.m. tips, they come out and they play with that level 5 energy. You hope that they continue to do what they've been doing in the first half of the last 2 games, because I do feel like we're going to know what Florida State is showing up early on and what Syracuse is showing up early on. And I think that's going to say a lot about the final score. Florida State's a fascinating team. When you look at all their individual game results, they've had some games where it's like, man, this is a good team. This is a team that can play with anyone. Florida, the defending national champs, they had them on the ropes. Almost won that game. Duke, one of the best teams in the country. They lost by 4. They were right in that game. Even UNC on the road, they came out and they punched back when UNC punched. I mean, they played good. They were in that game. Lost by 13, but they were in it throughout much of the game, and they shot it well. They played Alabama in an exhibition game and looked very strong in that game. And that was a game where a lot of the starters were playing and everything, and it was a big crowd, and it wasn't like some sleepy exhibition game that was behind closed doors. Both teams were trying, and they hung in there with Alabama and went toe-to-toe with them. And then they've got some games where it's like, man, if Florida State loses, sometimes they lose big. And it's puzzling. And you wonder if it's a big dip in their energy, and they're not giving level 5 energy in these bad losses. They played Texas A&M in a game where at the time their KenPom ranking was 57th and Texas A&M was 41st, and that was a neutral site game. They were probably slight underdogs going into that game. They lost it 95-59. They played Georgia in the next game at home. They lost 107-73. It was a bloodbath. They lost to Dayton on the road 97-69. Some of these are really ugly, but then they sort of hung in there with Houston. Lost by 15, but I mean, it wasn't like they gave up 100-something points like some of these other games. And then, of course, the latest game for them, NC State, 113-69. The Wolfpack beat them. So which Florida State is Syracuse going to get tonight? Are they going to be revved up? I mean, part of me thinks that they should bounce back and play with some urgency, but they lost to Texas A&M by a bajillion points, like we talked about, 95-59, and then they lost to Georgia by a bajillion points a couple days later. So I don't know. I tend to think it's either going to be good Florida State, and this is going to be a close game throughout, or it's bad Florida State, and this is ugly early, and Syracuse wins it by 20 or 25 points tonight. Let's hope, of course, it's the latter. Let's go to the phone lines. We've got our guy Michael in Manlius. Michael, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tim, what's up?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. All right, so I got a question. How about this? Usually you think that if a team is making threes, they're not going to be dunking much, or if they're dunking, they're not going to be making threes. So I watched some of the Pittsburgh game. We had both clicking. So I got to say, okay, instead of being a dunk day or a triple trance, it becomes a three-point throwdown.
All right. 3-point throwdown. We know Florida State's going to try and jack up some threes, Mike. So let's hope that it's more of Syracuse making the threes tonight. I love it. I love you always checking in with some positive wordplay from our guy Michael in Manlius. 3-point throwdown tonight. Again, I said the stat earlier, and that was going to be my next key. We can get the voice guy in here.
Number 2.
You got to defend the three tonight. That's the next thing for Syracuse, because that stat's pretty alarming. The one I mentioned earlier, that Florida State is 1-5 when they make less than 10 threes, but they're 6-4 when they make more than 10 threes. I did that breakdown a couple weeks ago of all the teams in the ACC, how often they have gotten to double-digit threes. Syracuse was the only team at that point that had not hit double-digit threes in a game this season out of the ACC teams. There was only one school in Georgia Tech that had done it 3 times, and that was the next closest. Syracuse has now done that because they went to Pittsburgh and they shot it great, and they got 3 threes from 3 separate players. Tyler Betsy had 3 threes. Donnie Freeman's been shooting great. He had 3 threes, and J.J. Starling knocked down 3 triples. That was 9 of their 10 threes right there. Nate King's made 1, and that was a season-high 10 threes. So you've got a team that does not make a lot of threes or attempt a lot that is coming off their best shooting game of the year against a team that attempts a ton of threes and makes a ton of threes in each game, and they're coming off their worst shooting game of the year. We'll see how it plays out inside the dome, sight lines and all of that. We'll see what battle of tempo wins out in the game tonight as well, because Florida State wants to push pace. Syracuse typically wants to do that. The third key for Syracuse.
Number 3.
Got to take care of the ball. Florida State is a bad defensive team. They allow a lot of easy drives to the basket. They don't have much rim protection, which is rare for Florida State. Remember, it's a new head coach, new style of play. Don't have a ton of size. They're pretty good on the offensive glass, not great on the defensive glass. I think Syracuse should be able to get them in the rebounding battle tonight overall. But if Syracuse can avoid the sloppy, careless 10 p.m. type of turnovers where it's just a lack of concentration, that's the stuff that would allow Florida State to get in this game. And Florida State is the one stat they're good at defensively is forcing turnovers. They lead the ACC forcing 16 turnovers per game. Those are our 3 keys for tonight. We'll wrap up the show with my score prediction and some shout-outs after this on Drive Time.
Check out
Steve's got a custom flannel. Oh, no, Kev. Thanks for your dedication. That's a funny line, Ryan. The 6'7" dance looks like you're throwing up invisible balls. Who was that? Jackie Moon? That they always clip. It's like in South Park too. I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's basically what the 6'7" dance is. I do need some new bump backs. That's on my list of things to do that I have no time to do, sadly. Maybe I could do that while I'm here at the station until freaking midnight tonight. Find some time to do that. Because all I've done is the ones I've had since the outset, which is probably 20 or so songs, but now we've all heard them several times. Ooh, Thai food for lunch. That sounds good. Noah Lobdell to Calvin Russell. That'd be something. You guys see that interview from Syracuse today with Calvin Russell? With Sean? He was talking about Gump. Greatest under major pressure. What's your guys' favorite Thai food in Syracuse? I don't know if I've ever really had Thai food here. The juicing station, I'm sure, still exists. They haven't had their leader for one of the games. Noah Lobdell was sick. Wow, big C family. Yeah, I did see that with Tomlin. Pretty crazy. That happened right after Orange Nation, of course, and then Paulie's not here tomorrow. They talked about it on that Orange Nation overtime show they're doing. Paulie's favorite thing ever. I guess it had kind of run its course, but I don't know if you're going to do much better than Tomlin. Feels like there's, I don't know, I guess there are some good coaches out there because Harbaugh and Tomlin. I was going to say there's not enough good coaches out there for the amount of jobs. Yeah, you'll have Steve and Mario tomorrow. Less fighting, probably. Paulie's moving tomorrow. It's his big moving. I mean, he's been moving for like a month, feels like. But tomorrow is his big day that he blocked off, so. Higher ceiling, lower floor.
Radio 97.7 and 100.1. Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on CuseSportsTalk.com.
We roll along on Drive Time. Final segment on the show this evening, which means we've got to make our prediction. Syracuse and Florida State tonight, 9 p.m. tip. Get the coffee out. Join us for postgame. Join us for pregame with Gio, 8 to 9. Verdict pregame show. He'll break down everything for you. Dive into Florida State a little bit more. I'm sure Gio might have his prediction then, 8 to 9. I'll give you my prediction now, and then we'll see how wrong I am when we reconvene late night, probably an 11 p.m. postgame tonight. We'll have Adrian Autry's live press conference, as always, on the Burdick postgame show tonight. I touched on before the break, Florida State's a puzzling team that it feels like they either are right in it against good teams or they lose by a whole bunch of points. And it gets ugly very early and they don't recover. And that speaks to a team that is completely new this year and they clearly don't have nearly as much talent as Syracuse. And this is a game Syracuse should win tonight. I'm going to say the Orange win this comfortably. I was very torn initially when I woke up this morning. I was kind of thinking about, well, Florida State's coming off a terrible loss. They'll be motivated. Syracuse has struggled in 9 p.m. games. Is Syracuse really going to win their third straight game by double figures? It's really hard to do that. It's hard to keep playing at the level they've been playing at, knowing that, you know, from an urgency perspective, they're not probably as motivated as Florida State tonight. I was thinking that maybe you can make a case this should be a close game and will be a close game because of that. I just think with Donnie Freeman on the floor, Syracuse is way more talented than Florida State, and Syracuse has been defending the three well. So as long as Florida State doesn't get hot from three, I just don't really see them beating the Orange. I think that is the biggest thing that they need in terms of a formula for them. They'd like to force some turnovers, of course. We laid that out. But they live and die by the three, which is, I think, why you see some puzzling losses and why you see some great performances. It just comes down to, will they make threes? And as far as I'm concerned, Syracuse is pretty darn good at stopping the three. And Syracuse inside the dome in a late night game, I think they're going to be fine tonight. I think they're going to win this game probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 to 20 points, which is well more than the spread. 18, maybe 22, 23 points, I would say. Because I just think if they do play like Syracuse has been playing lately, and they avoid Florida State getting hot from three, they're a much better team. And they have much better pieces, and they're playing better right now. And I think Florida State's in danger of maybe rolling over, even though it is early on in the season. So my prediction would be 85-68, Syracuse over Florida State tonight. I'm going to lean on the side that Florida State struggles to shoot from three. But there have been a lot of scenarios where I feel like a team comes into the dome and they're red hot from three. And three-point defense is one of those stats that we can kind of overvalue. Yes, it does feel like sometimes like Houston is always up there nationally in three-point D. Syracuse for years in the 2-3 zone was always up there nationally in three-point D. So there's got to be something to that. But a lot of the odds makers point to that stat as something that you can't take too much into because water will probably find its level and there's a good amount of variance and luck involved in how good is your three-point defense. I tend to think the way Syracuse is defending, the way they're slowing down the opposition, the way that they're putting a lot of ball pressure on guards, I just think Syracuse is going to do a good job at stopping what Florida State is good at. I think they have more size. So, again, I think the Orange win this game comfortably tonight, and we'll see. Maybe on the post-game show I'll be dead wrong, and you can all throw eggs at me, and you can call in and vent about how bad Syracuse played, and we can have that type of post-game show tonight. You never really know what's coming this year with Syracuse basketball, but I tend to think that they match up well tonight against Florida State. 85-68 is my score prediction for tonight. Thanks to Kyle and Gio for producing. Listen to Gio 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. for our pregame coverage, and we'll be back with you on postgame after the final buzzer. Until then, thanks for watching us on QSportsTalk.com. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio.
Did you miss Drive?